All right, let's get this money. Let's get this money. This video is for artists, and it's about how to convert ideas into equity, into ownership of corporations. It's about how to translate aesthetic ideas, primarily an idea, into a material object, to convert that into ones and zeros in the form of currency, to use that to purchase stock, to reinvest the dividends from the purchase of that stock with a dividend reinvestment program or a DRIP program, and then through the magic of compounded interest to increase the potential net profit from the sale of that original idea exponentially by a factor of tenfold. We begin with labor. We take our concept, our ideas, we convert that into a material object. As an example, here we see my print, I Hate Marcel Duchamp. It's a 3-spot color hand-pulled screen print, but we take the aesthetic idea, convert that into a material object. Now, the important part here is it's not exclusively, this video is not about getting the bag for the sake of money. Artists have to have an economic model that undergird their work, or they will have no level of self-determination. So the most important component in this process is this. It's the idea that I am counseling and I am discussing the idea of absolutely loving and believing the thing that we're making. I'm not talking about getting the bag for the sake of getting the bag. You have to love the shit that you make. So, as an example, this limited edition print, I Hate Marcel Duchamp, a 3-spot color hand-pulled screen print. Let's use this as an example. Here we see the object converted to cash. This is the email application. You can see the physical object converted to ones and zeros through digital currency. You can see the sales coming in the right hand on the iPhone.
3, 4.
So sales come in. So that object at this point, the print on the left, has been converted into equity, into money. Now, the critical component in this entire equation is self-discipline, the capacity not to spend the money, not to touch the money. In order to achieve a level of self-determination, one must avoid the desire to touch that money. We keep that as ones and zeros. And then what we do is we transfer those ones and zeros. We transfer that cash into a brokerage fund. A brokerage fund is an account with a company that allows you to purchase stock. E-Trade or Charles Schwab, in this case it's E-Trade, with the account number and the balance is blacked out. But you transfer the money into the brokerage account, you transfer the ones and zeros into the brokerage account. The next step in the process is a research phase, which is beyond the scope of this video, but I would suggest the book One Up on Wall Street and Barron's Guide to Value Investing. But research phase, finding what's referred to as value-based corporations. And then staying digital again, keeping the money, ones and zeros. Purchase equities. So in your brokerage account, you are midway through the process of converting that original idea and that object into ownership. Here we see buying 1 share of NVIDIA for $946.47 off the proceeds of prints. Purchase that equity. And then what we do is at that point, you have completed the conversion. You have completed the conversion of the material object. Well, first, the idea, the aesthetic object becomes material, then becomes digital, and you've completed the conversion of that into ownership, into equity.
4.
The next step in the process, which is often overlooked, is enrollment of those stocks in a dividend reinvestment program. So when companies post profits, what they do is many of them pay back a portion of those profits to the stockholders. There's something called a dividend reinvestment program, which we see here. So what ends up happening is you can see 4:49 a.m., 4:21 a.m. while you're sleeping, and this is key. This is key to the self-determination of the artist. 4:49 a.m., 4:21 a.m., dividends are paid back to the owners of the stock, and through a dividend reinvestment program, what happens is the stock is repurchased in fractional shares. Albert Einstein referred to the most powerful force in the universe as compounded interest. So what this effectively does is it sets up a situation where potentially, the profits from the original object grow exponentially. We see here, as we see a rough graphic, a brief graphic of compounding. So there can be potentially an exponential increase in the profit of that original idea. The keys to this entire process are self-discipline. You can't touch the money. Time is the most important component in this equation. So when you sell the material object and it's converted into equity, the most important component is to keep that process completely digital so you don't touch the money. You don't spend the money. You reinvest the profits, any potential profits, through a dividend reinvestment program back into the piece. And then no speculation. I'm not referring to purchasing stocks in a speculative way. I'm talking about what's referred to as value-based investing. This process can provide you with an economic model, a solid economic model that undergirds artistic production. Most artists won't talk about this. They don't consider it. But the most important, arguably the most important component of artistic freedom is the capacity to do what you want to do. In a capitalist system, that is completely based upon your ability to put food on the table and determine your own destiny through economics. I hope this helped.